I never thought I'd catch my wife lying to me, especially not through something as harmless looking as email threads. My name is Grant, and for the past 6 years, I believe my marriage to Sarah was built on honesty and partnership. We moved to Seattle right after we got married, chasing job opportunities and the vibrant city life. Everything seemed solid until one ordinary Saturday, I stumbled upon suspicious messages on our laptop. A chance discovery. It started innocently enough. I was searching for a file on Sarah's computer because my own laptop had crashed. As soon as I opened her mail client, I saw a chat window with a name I didn't recognize. Perry. The conversation wasn't overly explicit, no confessions of love, no provocative photos, but the tone was suggestive, teasing remarks, inside jokes, a familiarity I wasn't used to seeing. It made my stomach twist. One line stood out. Thanks for putting in a good word for me. I owe you big time. Another read. I'll never forget you helped me land this job. Let's celebrate soon. I told myself it was probably some friend at the office, maybe the person who recommended Sarah for her new position. She'd been working at a marketing firm for the last 3 months, praising how her incredible coworker had helped her navigate training. I was proud of her success, not suspicious until now. The first seeds of doubt. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. And her coworker's message felt more than just a friendly nudge. Still, I told myself not to jump to conclusions. The messages I found weren't exactly romantic, and Sarah wasn't the type to cheat, was she? I decided to keep an eye on the situation, but not confront her, at least not yet. Part of me felt guilty rummaging through her email. Another part insisted that I had to protect our marriage if something was brewing under the surface. Over the next few weeks, I became more observant. Sarah started coming home later from the office, explaining that deadlines were crazy or that she was staying to help out a new client. She seemed a bit more distant, spending extra time texting or emailing. We still ate dinner together, but the conversation felt forced. I'd ask about her day, and she'd say, "Everything's fine," in a tone that carried no warmth. More clues. One evening when she stepped out to run an errand, I revisited her laptop. I know it was sneaky, but suspicion was gnawing at me. The chat with Perry still wasn't overtly sexual, just borderline. The two of them joked about having secrets. He teased her about how she owed him a favor, because apparently he pulled some strings to get her hired. She teased back with winking emojis, calling him her hero. Nothing too damning, yet every line had an undercurrent that made my blood pressure rise. They referred to each other in playful nicknames, joked about meeting in random corners of the building. Once, Perry wrote, "Let's do that lunch thing again. I like our little escapes." She responded, "Haha, you're trouble, but I do love sneaking away." I couldn't help but read between the lines, sneaking away. Our little escapes? Something was definitely going on, or at least building up. The invitation to a date. Finally, one morning I saw a brand new message in the thread. "Hey, let's meet Friday in the usual spot. We can have some small amusements." The usual spot. Small amusements. In my mind, it screamed an affair. Or, at the very least, it was the next step to something deeper than an innocent friendship. I nearly crushed my coffee mug in my hand, picturing my wife giggling in some secluded cafe, letting him hold her hand, or maybe more. I decided it was time to act. I wasn't going to wait for them to turn their flirting into physical betrayal, if it hadn't happened already, so I devised a plan. I'd follow her. Following Sarah. Friday arrived. Sarah left around 7 a.m., kissing me on the cheek, smiling like everything was normal. My heart pounded as I pretended to do chores around the house, my mind locked on her coworker's message. Around noon, I hopped into my car and headed downtown, keeping an eye on the building where Sarah worked. Sure enough, at about 12:30, she walked out the revolving doors with a sense of anticipation on her face. She scanned the street, phone in hand, then crossed to a small park around the corner. I parked discreetly, tailing her on foot. She circled around the pond, and waiting there like a scene from a bad rom-com was Perry. Tall, lanky, wearing a confident smile, they said something to each other, both laughing as he put a hand lightly on her back, guiding her toward a bench under a willow tree. I ducked behind some hedges, cursing the absurdity of my situation. I'm not a private detective, I thought, my heart throbbing with anger and jealousy. But damn it, I need the truth. They sat, their heads bowed in hushed conversation. Then he leaned closer, said something that made her giggle and lightly smack his arm. The flirting was obvious, the tension thick. She checked her watch. and Perry gave her a mischievous grin. They rose and walked briskly across the park. I followed, my chest burning. The confrontation. They ended up at a small coffee shop, one with tinted windows. Not too busy. I slipped in behind them, staying out of sight, my baseball cap low over my face. They ordered drinks, found a corner table, and chatted softly. I was too far to hear them well, but from Sarah's posture and the playful way she fiddled with his shirt sleeve, I could guess the gist. After a few minutes, they got up, drinks unfinished, and headed out the side door. I raced up the front, hurrying around to see them slip into a narrow alley. That was it. My blood roared in my ears. Small amusements in an alley. That was all I needed to see. I stormed around the corner, half expecting to catch them mid-kiss. Instead, I found them standing face to face, her back against the brick wall, hand on her waist. She looked startled when she saw me. "Grant!" she gasped, eyes wide. Perry turned with a jump, hands raised as if to defend himself. "Hey, man, it's not what you think." I advanced, not even sure what I intended to do, my fists clenched at my sides. "Oh, I bet it's exactly what I think," I snapped, voice trembling. "You're setting up dates with my wife, and here you are in some goddamn alley." Sarah tried to step forward, blocking me from Perry. "Grant, calm down. It isn't we weren't doing anything." I laughed bitterly. "Nothing, huh? So you sneak out of work, come to this hidden corner with a guy who sends you winking messages about amusements? That's nothing." Perry started to stammer an explanation. We just needed a quiet place to talk about something. My anger surged. Without thinking, I swung a fist at him. It connected with his jaw, sending him stumbling back against the wall. He yelped, rubbing his face. "What the hell, man?" Sarah grabbed my arm. "Stop it. Are you insane?" I yanked my arm free, heart pounding. Insane. I'm not the one flirting in secret corners. I'm not the one who built a marriage on lies. You want to talk about insane? Insane is me letting this go on. Tears welled in her eyes. "Grant, it's not that big." "Not that big of a deal." I nearly shouted. "Then why are you hiding? Why the secrecy? I've seen your emails, Sarah. I've read your messages. I see how do you giggle around him. How do you let him talk about favors and little escapes? You think I'm a fool?" She pressed her lips together, guilt pooling in her expression. "You read my emails." "Yeah, I did," I said, my voice lower now, trembling with hurt. "What was I supposed to do? Watch you slip away with this guy and pretend everything's fine?" Perry tried to intervene, stepping around Sarah. "Look, let's all just calm down." I glared at him, adrenaline still coursing through me. "Touch her again, and I'll do more than bruise your jaw." Sarah put her hands up. "Grant, it's not what you think. We haven't actually done anything. There's no affair." I cut her off, shouting, "You think I care that it hasn't turned sexual yet? The intent's right there in your messages. You're planning it, warming up to it. Are you waiting for me to applaud your restraint?" She broke into sobs. "I swear, I never let it get that far. He's my coworker. He got me the job. We bonded. I was flattered. Flattered, great." I shook my head, stepping back, my rage giving way to cold resolve. "I'm done, Sarah. I'm not going to stand here letting you toy with my trust." Her tears streamed down. "No, please don't do anything rash. Let's talk at home. I'll explain everything." I glanced at Perry, who stood off to the side, looking like he regretted every choice he made to end up in this alley. I almost felt pity for him. Almost. But my heartbreak overshadowed any empathy. "I'm not sure there's anything to explain," I murmured, voice hoarse. "Leaving the marriage." I turned and walked away, ignoring Sarah's pleading calls for me to wait. My mind was made up. Even if she hadn't physically cheated, yet the betrayal felt real enough. My wife had been lying, flirting behind my back, meeting in secret corners. That was enough to destroy what we had. When I got home, I packed a suitcase, my heart a heavy stone in my chest. She arrived 20 minutes later, frantic and tearful, begging me to listen, but I'd already made up my mind. "I've seen enough," I said flatly. "Maybe you haven't slept together yet, but it's only a matter of time. You hid things from me. You played with fire." Her hands trembled as she reached out to me. "Don't go, Grant. I love you. We can fix this. Just let me prove it." I felt a pang of sorrow. I had loved her, still did, in a painful way, but trust was shattered, and I had no energy left to patch it up. "No, Sarah," I whispered. "I can't do it. I'm sorry. I'll file for divorce." She broke down sobbing, leaning against the wall, her entire body shaking. I zipped up my suitcase, tears burning in my own eyes. Then I walked out the door, not looking back. Epilogue. A decision that couldn't be undone. It's been a few months since that day in the alley, and I'm living in a small apartment in downtown Seattle. The divorce paperwork is in process. Friends asked if I regret leaving over something that hadn't yet happened, but they don't understand the heartbreak of reading those messages, seeing that silly arrangement for our amusements. They don't get how seeing my wife stand in that alley with him, so close, so secretive, tore me apart. Sarah tried to contact me once or twice. She wrote long emails explaining that she never physically cheated. She only got caught up in a silly flirtation. But I can't accept that. The line between emotional, physical betrayal is thin. She crossed it or was about to. I'm not sure what her life is like now. Maybe she's still at that same job, awkwardly working with Perry. Maybe they ended everything, or maybe they're together for real now. I don't know. I don't want to know. What I do know is that I made a choice to stand up for my dignity, because sometimes betrayal isn't about an explicit moment of intimacy. It's about the trust that was burned along the way. And once it's burned, no amount of denial can rebuild it. I'm coping little by little. Therapy helps. So do my closest friends who remind me that I did what I had to do. My heart still aches when I think of the life I believe we'd share, but it aches less every day. And in its place, I feel a cautious hope that one day I might rebuild a life, one with someone who won't keep secrets from me.